welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to go over the 10 GPT customizations that you need to put in your ChatGPT if you're a clinician. And there's a reason that these studies are coming out, that say that people are using AI tools are not, it's influencing their critical thinking and their problem solving skills and things like that. So it's very important to use AI as an assistant rather than the one taking action and doing things for you, or basically being in charge of you when you're doing the work. It's really to make it an assistant to help you with some tasks rather than do the critical thinking for you. So we have to really have a way that we tell it, right? We need to personalize the GPT to know that it's your assistant. So really important. Let's tell you where to go. So when you go on your personalization section, so you need to go on your profile. There's your picture is going to be at the bottom of your ChatGPT. You click on that picture, you go to settings, and there is a tab. It says personalization, and you see that it says customize ChatGPT, and there's also memories. But this section right here is where we're going to place these instructions. Okay, so we're going to put these 10 important instructions to make it your assistant rather than the one in charge of you and telling you what to do. Okay, so let's see how to make it a perfect assistant. And again, you open that personalization, it asks you some questions. One of them is, what do you do? And then, what traits should ChatGPT have? This is where you're going to put all the information which we're going to talk about. So the first thing you say is, you're now a specialized medical assistant for a physician. Adopt these essential traits. So you need to really put these in as it is, and I'll have basically a summary note of this on my Patreon channel if you want to download and put your own GPT, or you can just walk with me and put it in as we're talking. But very important to use this word for word. So the way I have found these top 10 traits is by using Manus AI. As you know, Manus is really good at pulling up information and resources and summarizing, putting together. I use my Manus AI to create these top 10 and pull it from the most recent GPT customizations that the community has been talking about and have been perfecting over time, and put them all together and condense them into these top 10 that I picked that I felt really appropriate to put in. And I've been using it on my GPT, and after using it more and more, I've seen that it actually is able to do a better job. So like the first time you put it in, as you ask it to do more questions and more things and come up with more differentials and help you with documentation, it actually is able to create new memories, which goes back to that memory section that I was talking about. And those memories can actually come in and personalize the responses even further. So that's the first thing you're going to tell it. Then you're going to tell it that I, of course, want evidence-based approach, right? We don't want any pseudoscience. And this is as you put it, always prioritize evidence-based medicine from peer-reviewed sources, minimize the influence of pseudoscience, and cite reputable medical literature when appropriate. Follow established clinical guidelines and protocols. Here, for me, I practice in the US, so I say follow established American clinical guidelines and protocols. So that's the first one. The second one is medical precision. It's very important. Maintain rigorous medical accuracy with appropriate terminology. Okay. Clearly distinguish between established medical facts, emerging research, and areas of clinical uncertainty. Is very important, right? So there may be, if it just, searching the web, there will be some pseudoscience, some areas that people are hypothesizing and it's not really researched. It may actually pull that into your answers if you not tell it that, distinguish between these established facts and areas of clinical uncertainty. So if it's going to propose certain treatment or adjunctive treatment, it will tell you that this is not really a research-based, evidence-based, peer-reviewed, right, source. So, and then also it's very important to tell it to acknowledge the limitations in current medical knowledge when it's there. So don't make up, just as you know, AI is able to create and actually lie to you. They can put together knowledge that doesn't exist, or they may say yes or no to the things that you tell them to, without really doing the work. So you have to know this is a program working on algorithms, and we need to make sure this program is not telling you what to do and you are actually in charge of it. So you need to have it acknowledge limitations. Okay, this is how you stay away from making mistakes as much as possible. Third one, clinical reasoning support, right? So you want it to help you in the clinical reasoning. It says present information in formats that support clinical decision making. When discussing conditions, organize information logically. Etiology, pathophysiology, clinical presentation, differential diagnosis, diagnostic approach, management options, and prognosis when relevant. So it will support your clinical decision making. It will not make the decision for you. You are the one in charge. You are the clinician. You've been through the residency training. This program is just an algorithm, a smart algorithm, right? So to support your clinical decision making, it will help refresh your memory on etiology, pathophysiology, the clinical presentation, what sort of things can be under your radar. But at the end of the day, as a clinician, you will decide final diagnostic approach, management options, prognosis, based on how it should be done. Fourth one, ethical standards. Always have this there. Adhere to medical ethics principles, including non-maleficence, beneficence, autonomy, justice, respect patient confidentiality. Never make definitive diagnoses. Make sure you put that in there because it's not there to do that. You should not use it for that. Or any specific treatment recommendations that could override clinical judgment. So you're basically here telling it that your clinical judgment comes before those things. So this is, you're here as a support. You're not here to give me definitive diagnosis, because that's where you will make mistakes. You will fall into the trap of losing your basically medical suspicion, using your cognitive thinking ability. So you need to use it properly. The next thing, time efficiency. Of course, you need to tell it. This needs to be concise, actionable information, organized for a quick reference, respect the time constraints that we have in medical practice with clear, structured responses, and prioritize key information. If you've been using GPT, you know, if you don't tell it this stuff, it will generate a very large, big, convoluted answer. Sometimes you're just reading and you don't know where you're getting to. It will just become the same thing as your Google browser, especially when you're looking at, you know, the more difficult concepts or more sophisticated concepts. So it's very important to tell it to respect the time efficiency, become concise, and always have a structured response. This is good if you're trying to produce patient education. You know, usually hospitals have their own patient education, the standard. You should use those. But if you were to, let's say, create your own patient education materials and you were going to hand those out, definitely have it to understand the communication style is going to be different, right? So the way that you're discussing something with your colleagues is going to be different. The way you present us information to your patients. Number 7, very important. If you're a specialist or thinking about going to a specialty, or you're a resident or medical student going to rotate at a specialty program, you wanted to tell it to be specialty aware. So you need to tell it that you need to recognize the unique context of different medical specialties, adapt responses to be relevant to the specialty, terminology, protocols, and challenges. And very important to, if you're, for example, generating a note under a certain specialty, you need to tell it that this note is going to be, you're going to be assisting me in generating a, for example, cardiology specialty note, or something like that. Okay, so definitely important to make it aware. It knows, it just needs to be personalized. Okay, a little more focus. Continuous learning. Always tell to stay current on medical literature, and assist with summarizing recent research findings. For example, if and you should be using this very often, because the research is growing really fast, and we are finding every day new things. So you want to make sure that you're pulling always from the most up-to-date information. So have that command there, and then as you go on, you can even tell it which resources to look into. So as the memory, you can update and say, I would like you to pull information from UpToDate, or I want to pull information from NAGM. What all anywhere that you want it to, you need to you can tell it to do that. And then always you can support your preparation for CMEs. Um, and then practical assistance. So basically, you're telling you're helping me with medical documentation, writing, maybe coding considerations, billing considerations, you can help with administrative tasks and support the clinical practice and such. And the last one, it's kind of like maintaining a balanced perspective, and this is actually key, very important, because you want to present multiple viewpoints on a controversial or evolving medical topics. You don't want it to pick one and just feed you the same information about that one viewpoint, and then you also then become tied in that and you become biased. So you have to be very aware of these AI tools that could develop biases. They could lie to you. They could present pseudoscience. They could pull from anywhere. So the goal of these 10 important customizations is really to prevent that. So acknowledge both the benefits and limitations of different approaches to diagnosis and treatment. So that should be there to maintain your equilibrium. Again, another last part that you can add to it about uncertainty, you can tell it, so whenever uncertain about medical information, explicitly acknowledge. I mean, these are, again, you don't want it to tell you, okay? You want it to acknowledge the limitations, and don't provide potentially incorrect information. Always encourage consultation with appropriate specialists for if the complex, if you have a complex case, you usually require, of course, your medical suspicions first. You need to consult, but again, make sure that it functions just like an assistant, right? That you would work at, a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner that you want to work at, someone who would also kind of help you with, hey, I think we should, consult. And again, it's just kind of like a support. It's not supposed to replace your clinical judgment and that, but it's good to have it remind you of it. Especially if you're internal medicine or hospitalist. So this technically, the goal of this customization is to make it your medical assistant, okay, and maintains the medical accuracy. It supports clinical workflow. It would save time for you. It would enhance the communication, adapt to the specialty needs if you're working as a specialist, assist with administrative tasks if you have handling documentation, supporting continuing education, maintaining ethical standards, of course, very, very important to maintain, and providing balanced perspectives, acknowledging their limitations. All right. So this should be basically everything you need to put in there for now. And also just know that these area for customization has a character limit, so you may have to summarize these, and I'll try to find the summarized version that I have, and I'll put that for you guys as a also down there. And then I think other AI tools, if they allow to have more words in there, then you can actually put in the full writing out of the 10 responses, and that way I think it's the most efficient. So if you guys enjoyed this video and you like videos like this, or if you have any comments to make this in better, because this we can continue to add to this and make it better, and I highly recommend that don't just trust someone, anyone coming on YouTube and putting information out. Of course, you as a physician in your medical practice and the way you work with your GPT, the way you need it, always adjust. I mean, these are not definitive. They can be changing, improved, and adapted to your needs. Okay, so do that for sure. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave me comments, join me on my Patreon channel. If you want to donate to me for any of these notes, I highly appreciate it. I'm taking out of my own personal time to do this. And yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you guys on the next one.